Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Friday Fortnite recap. Of course, episode number 1, covering everything that happened in week number 8. Of course, live here from the UMG studio, it's myself, Landon Lando Sanders, joined alongside by Taylor Reflections Noble. Taylor, we had an insane amount of awesome matches, some great coverage, some amazing plays. Let's break down what happened, at least in game number 1.
Yeah, first game was FAZE going against High Distortion and Crafty. Of course, High Distortion and Crafty both back into competition and competing with each other. And just to give you guys a little recap of the last Friday Fortnite, High Distortion came into that tournament and ended up finishing with around a 14.2 kill ratio, which is absolutely unfounded. But of course, they had to get through FAZE in round number 1, and that was going to be their first test of the tournament. Let's find out how it happened. But of course, off the start, we see High Distortion and Crafty land retail, where FAZE would drop Salty. Now, this was an area they would continue to drop throughout our tournament. Both teams would make their pushes throughout the map. However, after game 1, they would lead very close in score at 20-15, with FAZE leading into game number 2. Off the jump, we see FAZE go Salty, but things got interesting when we saw High Distortion and Crafty go Anarchy Acres. As soon as they land, they are unable to find a weapon and are forced to retreat back, where they eventually find themselves at Loot Lake with 0 frags. HD and Crafty wouldn't get a kill until 27 engagements remained, but at that point, they were already trailing behind FAZE by 13 frags. Eventually, the rough start would be too much for High Distortion and Crafty to overcome, and they would finish the series with a final score of 38-23, with FAZE moving on in the winner's bracket.
Yeah, looking on now to the winners' quarterfinals, we end up having Ninja and Hysteria face off against TSM's own Hamlins and Myth. Of course, take a look at the bottom side of the bracket. This one was definitely one to be taking note of. And of course, when it comes down to the match, like I said, very intense start to this particular series, with one player from each team actually getting dropped in the very first minute. Unfortunately for TSM, they got the bitter end of that, seeing Hamlins eliminated. And sadly for Myth, he quickly would fall not long after, leaving Ninja and Hysteria alone to generate a mass lead of 19-2 heading into the half. With TSM down, they decided to make a retail row / tilted tower split, hoping to get as many kills as possible, going to such high traffic positions. However, being down the margin that they were, in combination with the passive plays that we have known from Ninja and Hysteria, how well that they play at, TSM would later fall down to the losers bracket with the end score of 36-20.
And winners finals, of course, was going to be even crazier. We saw Cypher playing not with Nick Merckx. Of course, all 7 weeks at least prior to this, we saw him play with Nick Merckx, and of course that teammate split up throughout this tournament, and he played with Jailmock. Of course, you were excited about that, and they performed exceptionally well. But of course, in winners finals, we saw them going up against the powerhouse team once again of FAZE. How did it turn out? Well, in round 1, we see both teams land just outside of Salty, but what was interesting is after only getting 1 frag, we see FAZE move out of Salty and give the remaining kills to Cypher and Jailmock, while FAZE wanted to take position over Dusty, which would be the natural rotation for Cypher's team going next. Both teams would be nearly tied as they head into the next locations of Tilted for Cypher and Jailmock and Loot Lake for FAZE. Eventually, FAZE would get the better end of the stick as the circle would collapse on Loot Lake, leading FAZE to get an ending round 1 score of 22-9 over Cypher and Jailmock. In round 2, that would be very interesting as we see Cypher split from Jailmock, landing at Anarchy Acres, where Jailmock would land Salty Springs. They knew splitting was their best option, being down 13 frags, but I had to question why Anarchy was the location Cypher decided on. Both FAZE and Jailmock would fight over Salty, but the rotation would come into play as FAZE would once again go Dusty, forcing Jailmock to rotate towards Tilted to get distance between his opponents. Unfortunately, Jail would run into a team in Tilted, and they would end his life, leaving a huge deficit to be recovered by Cypher alone. FAZE would continue to rack up kills, where Cypher would find a total of 7, but would eventually get caught in the storm and fall, giving the grand final spot to FAZE and a final score of 37-17.
And of course, with 1 final spot cemented, that only left for 1 to remain. Of course, heading down to the losers bracket, we end up seeing Ninja and Hysteria face off against King Richard and Aimbot Calvin. Of course, when we talk about these two, they started off regarding King Richard and Aimbot Calvin in losers early. In round number 1, knocked out by the Cinderella story, and Saturday Fortnite winners Sean Claude and Tendons, of course, a very motivated team to keep their win streak up and advance past another Titan squad. While Ninja and Hysteria, after a close loss to Cypher and Jailmock the series prior in winners semis, they were desperate to prove themselves as a dominant duo and a team that should be considered as one of the best. Looking into half number 1, both teams playing incredibly similar off the start by using the passive starts that we've grown to witness. However, for King Richard and Calvin, it would turn out to be the exact opposite. An early eliminated Calvin would spell problems for that duo to even stand a chance to take down their opponents. Moments later, new town, same team. King Richard also gets eliminated, this time, however, in Retail Row, along with 30 players still left up. While Ninja, at point, would fall to the storm, Hysteria was there to help carry the momentum, locking down an 18-4 lead heading into the half. While King Richard and Amok Calvin did all they could leading into half number 2, it wouldn't stop Ninja and Hysteria by remaining to still stay playing consistent, even though they did not hold a solid advantage. While 5 straight loser series streak was over, it would propel Ninja and Hysteria to move on after closing out this loser's quarterfinal matchup 35-18.
And then, of course, the next match for Ninja and Hysteria would be Courage and Scissors in the losers semifinal match. Of course, this was, in fact, going to be a really good match, one of the closest matches we had of the night. Of course, getting into game number 1, we would see Ninja and Hysteria drop Shifty Shafts, which had been working for them all tournament long. Courage and Scissors would land Retail Row and pick up 4 kills before making a big rotation out towards Salty, Dusty, and then finishing at Shifty. The most interesting aspect of this first game is Courage and Scissors would go to 4 different locations, whereas Ninja and Hysteria would rotate between Shifty and Tilted, yet were able to keep the lead by 1 frag with a score of 19-18. Moving into Game 2, we would see yet another Shifty drop from Ninja and Hysteria, while Courage and Scissors would make a bold move and land in Tilted Towers. Early game, Courage and Scissors would lead by 2 frags. As the game continued into mid-game, we would see them rotate Salty Springs. After racking up some more kills, a huge turn would occur as 3 players would drop and the only person standing would be Scissors, who had a chance to knock Ninja and Hysteria out of the tournament. Scissors had to get 6 kills, however, being pinched from all angles, he would be defeated and Ninja and Hysteria would move to losers finals with a final score of 36-30.
And of course, with that win, one more match, really one more series to settle who would be in those grand finals. Of course, Ninja and Hysteria versus Cypher and J-Amok. As far as game number 1, we saw a similar game plan from both teams as all 4 players decided to land inside of Shifty Shafts. This particular spot over the last few weeks has really grown in popularity due to the positioning on the map and really the locations that surround it. The match would quickly begin to take shape as Ninja and Hysteria directly made a rotation into Tilted Towers, while Cypher and J-O decided to go east. From there, constant fights would later lead up to J-Amok dropping in a huge moment during the later stages of our first game. Coinciding with a monster match from Cloud9's own Hysteria, this would pad a 23-7 advantage heading into the half. With a mountain to climb, Cypher and J-Amok decided to throw it a Hail Mary by split landing Tilted Towers and Salty Springs. Sadly, an early elimination from Cypher let all the pressure onto J-Amok's shoulders, a pressure he couldn't manage to bear for long, as the game would soon come to a close with an ending score of 27-11.
And that put Ninja and Hysteria into the grand finals, and of course it was going to be an explosive one. I know a lot of people in chat was wanting to watch it, especially us on the couch, and this was Ninja's first time, at least, or first time back in a while in the grand finals, right, and an opportunity to finally get that elusive first place, his highest placing being second place. But this was also the opportunity for FaZe to take it and be back-to-back champions, and of course win their 4th Friday Fortnite title, which is absolutely insane if you think about it. But of course there had to be a bracket reset if Ninja and Hysteria wanted to take it. And let's go ahead and move into Game 1, Series 1, as we are going to see both teams dropping Shifty Shafts, as FaZe knew they had to counter the initial drop of Ninja and Hysteria. Once the rotation started, we would see both teams split up, with Ninja and Hysteria choosing Tilted Towers and FaZe going to Salty to stack up more frags. As we would head into mid-game, Ninja and Hysteria would stay around Tilted Towers, where FaZe would be rotating through the map with Salty and then Dusty. But even with the different styles of play, Game 1 would come down to a score of 17-16 with FaZe leading. Game 2 of Series 1 would show a shift in strategy from Ninja and Hysteria, as they would land with FaZe in Retail to monitor the amount of kills they would get. Both teams would trade kills, and we would see an even match until Tfue dropped mid-game and gave free reign for Ninja and Hysteria to take over the lead and force a bracket reset with a final score of 42-32. Series 2 Game 1 was a huge opportunity for Ninja and Hysteria, but also the moment where FaZe knew they needed to step up in order to become the back-to-back champions of Friday Fortnite. The start of the game would see both teams once again landing Shifty, but instead of splitting up, they would stick together throughout the match, trading kills. But in the end, we would see a surprising 6-frag league, with Ninja and Hysteria leading a FaZe 20-14. Game 2 of Series 2 would be the deciding factor if we would have a new Friday Fortnite champion or a new 2-time Friday Fortnite champion back-to-back. FAZE being 6 kills down decided to go bold and do a hot drop at Tilted, whereas Ninja and Hysteria would once again take it slower with the shifty drop. But as soon as the game would start, it would also end as both FAZE members would go down early and Ninja and Hysteria would win their first ever Friday Fortnite with a score of 44-16. I know a lot of people were happy for that, but the FAZE fans, including yourself, by the way, a little bit disappointed, but still a great performance overall.
Oh, for sure. I think once that victory kind of came through, the entire Fortnite community, the entire Twitch community was celebrating the fact that Ninja had finally escaped with his first place finish. And of course, along with those finishes, let's go and take a look at our overall week number 8 placements. Of course, regarding the overall scheme of things, Ninja and Hysteria finished off in first place, of course, with their first title ever as a squad in just their second overall tournament. When it came down to second place, of course, the runners-up, we ended up having the 3-time champions Tfue and Cloaksy. When it came down to third place, we had Cypher and Jayamok finish up there. When it came down to fourth place, Courage and Scissors found themselves making their way throughout the bracket and advancing toward that fourth place position. Regarding 5th through 6th came King Richard and Amok Calvin, joined alongside by Mitch Jones and Grenader Jake. As far as 7th through 8th, we ended up seeing Nick Merckx and Parallax, along with Quebblecop and LD Young. Regarding some early exits from this tournament, some surprising factors really to be looking out for. We ended up seeing Vicstar and Noah J finish off with a top 24 finish, along with Avery and Thief around that exact same spot in top 24. HD and Crafty finishing with the top 16, and Hamlins and Myth finishing off with top 12.
You know, one of the surprising things about that was High Distortion and Crafty. I thought, at least a lot of people thought, they would go through the tournaments and perform a lot better than what they did, but then again, getting knocked down to loser bracket just after game 1, of course, playing FAZE, who got second place. That's respectable, but still, I expected a lot more out of them, including from TSM as well. When it comes to Myth and Hamlins, I also expected them to go a little bit further in the tournament, but unfortunately, they didn't. So hopefully in the next Friday Fortnite, they'll be able to maybe kind of fix and kind of replicate what Ninja and Hysteria were doing with that shifty drop, which, by the way, is really, really effective. You guys got to try it, but I want to see them come in and maybe try some new strategies out and see how it's going to play out. Yeah,
for sure. And I'm going to ask you, too, we talked about our obviously first place finishers, Ninja and Hysteria.
Yeah.
I mean, regarding their overall gameplay, it was stellar throughout the entire tournament. And I think a lot of the community right now, including myself, has the major question, can Ninja and Hysteria keep this up? Regarding your opinion, of course, watching throughout the entirety of Friday, do you think that that can be a team who can essentially be in the finals multiple times? Think they can win multiple championships as a duo squad together?
Yeah.
What's your take overall on Ninja and Hysteria's play?
So Ninja and Hysteria, by the way, played absolutely phenomenal. But one thing that I have to say about Ninja is he understands his popularity on Twitch, and he also understands giving the love to other competitors. That's why he's played with Courage in the past, King Richard, and now playing with Hysteria. He likes to kind of spread the ability out there to get these guys more recognition. But playing with Hysteria obviously was his better, at least, option to play with. But overall, I can see them coming into Friday Fortnite in the next tournament and playing exceptionally well once again, maybe even making a top 3 finish overall. Because the thing is that shifty drop was, I don't think a lot of people thought it was going to be as good as it was. And honestly, they would just seriously stay. They would land at shifty. They would just go to tilted, maybe even greasy, but they would just stay within those 3 points. They wouldn't really go too far out of that. Maybe I think the furthest point was River. So honestly, them coming back into the next Friday Fortnite tournament, it's going to be hard to counter them, but that's why we saw in the end FaZe sort of landing with them in shifty to try and counter it. But even so, they still weren't able to take it over the team of Ninja and Hysteria. So, honestly, coming into next Friday Fortnite wouldn't surprise me top 3.
Yeah. And also regarding, Ninja and Hysteria's play, this has kind of been a commonality, right? When we talk about some of the top teams in the world, talk about the TSMs, the FaZes, and now Ninja and Hysteria, the passive play, right? When we first started off these tournaments, it was a massive factor of, okay, what cities are we landing in? What landing spots? Are we going inside Tilted? Are we going inside Salted? Are we going in retail?
Right.
And now it's kind of focused on the outskirt play. A lot of teams kind of focusing toward almost the water side, to the edge of the entirety of the map is where a lot of our teams lie. I want to know, is this, you think, a continuing aspect when it comes down to that passive play style, or do you think we're going to slowly but surely work our way into kind of going back to the initials of landing inside of cities, landing inside of zones, and kind of working from there?
Yeah, those hot drops, were, like you said, were really popular at first. They've kind of gone away. The 2 most popular spots that we're seeing right now is Shifty, obviously Ninja and Hysteria bringing that in, but also to the houses just outside of Salty and then pushing in, and that's what FaZe likes to do. And obviously with both those teams being first and second place respectively, you got to be thinking maybe the slower gameplay is the way to go. Look, if you come in slower, you run at least you lower the risk of RNG, and that's a big factor in our tournaments overall, on Battle Royale in general. So going to the outskirts of that, pushing in with an inventory, and of course coming into potentially teams fighting off each other is a lot better way to go. I think that is in fact going to be the future of potentially the future overall of competitive Fortnite esports, but we'll have to see. Of course, we develop every single Friday Fortnite that we watch these teams play it out. They're always developing, but to answer your question, yeah, as of right now, I think slow is the way to go.
Absolutely. Well, of course, guys, that's going to do it for our Week 8 recap. If you guys haven't done so already, haven't even tuned in to the Friday Fortnite broadcast, of course, you can visit our stream page, of course, on twitch.tv/UMG events, where we're live every single Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, that's going to do it for myself, Lando, and Reflections. We obviously dove into a lot of the action that happened in week number 8. We, of course, hope to see you next time, of course, here on YouTube. We'll be back next week with some more awesome recaps, some more awesome news when it comes down to Friday Fortnite.